Hi. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Trafina. And if you're not joining me for the first time and you're not new to this, welcome back. Sorry, it's been crazy trying to get this to work with this live stream. I'm still getting acclimated to YouTube. This is kind of new to me. So bear with me. But today, I'm doing this video. This was on my heart so heavy, and I feel that this is going to resonate with a lot of different people because I feel there's a lot of people that's in a transitional period. But I want to talk from the point of it's time to pivot when God is redirecting you. And this is a subject that I know all too well. Like when I tell you, I know this so well. So even now, and where I'm at currently, like I'm in a position where I'm currently in a lot of transition, and God has caused me to pivot. But I want to talk from the place of what do you do when God is telling you to do something other than what you thought you were going to do, right? Because I know for me, I've experienced leaving jobs, right? So in that area, that's not new to me. I'm not a first time faith walker when it comes to leaving a job, right? But what do you do when he's calling you, he's redirecting you in an aspect or an area that you're not comfortable with? Because redirection is not just leaving a job. Redirection can be in relationships, redirection can be in your business, redirection can be in relocation. And that's currently where I am right now. But like I said, I was feeling it so heavy on my heart. Now I'm gonna take you back to like my first official faith walk with God, right? So I'm in banking from 2013 to 2017. Now in 2016, I had this elaborate plan that I'm moving to LA to follow my acting dreams and my modeling dreams. And I'm gonna do all the things, right? And God was like, no, that's not what we're doing. Rightfully so. And I'm glad that he actually stood in the gap and said no to those plans because that wasn't the time of the situation. So 2017 comes and I keep getting this inkling that it's time to leave. Like I really keep getting this inkling that God is calling me to go elsewhere. And I don't know where though. So at the time I'm modeling and acting, more so modeling. I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with acting, but I'm teaching modeling, acting, and personal development. So I was doing that on the side. Wasn't near enough to fully sustain me. So I keep feeling this pull. I keep feeling this pull. One, I wasn't really satisfied or fulfilled in the role that I was in. Two, I'm like, this is not really my purpose. Like, it served this purpose. It was a blessing. It's room for growth. If you've ever been affiliated or worked in finance, you understand that you can climb up the ladder and you can make great money. But that was not something that I really wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, God, I keep getting this pull. What are you telling me to do? So at that time, I wasn't really a babe in Christ, but I wasn't as confident as I am now. So like now I leave in a heartbeat, okay? Because I've already seen. So if God says move, I'm moving. But at that time, I wasn't really comfortable. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't have anything else set up full time. What am I going to do? I need confirmation. So I prayed for confirmation. And I remember one of my clients came in and she was walking in the branch and she stopped and she's like, I don't know, but I don't think you're going to be here much longer. Mind you, she has no idea that I'm planning to leave because I haven't told her. I haven't told anyone. And so I'm like, okay, God. And if that wasn't enough, I was dating this guy at the time and we went out and we decided to take an Uber. We get in the Uber and the Uber driver is super nice. He's foreign. And so he's asking us how are we doing and, what do we do? So I tell him like, I'm a model and I'm still figuring out things. And, I'm kind of getting a push, but I'm not sure which way to go. This man starts pouring. So he shares with me, and I can't make this up, how he's a doctor, right? He's getting in the medical field. He starts working at a hospital in his country for making $200 a month. He's literally making $200 a month. So there's just a moment of silence for that because when he told us, like, the guy that I was dealing with at the time, we looked at each other like, what? Like, you can't even survive it. So he's telling us how he was making that low of income and he didn't know what he was going to do, how he was going to provide for himself, how he was going to sustain himself. So long story short, he ends up sharing with me how they're doing a round of layoffs at that job and he gets notified that he's one of the people that's going to be getting laid off. Now, in his mind, this was actually like the worst thing that could happen because he's already not getting paid enough anyway. But what is he going to do? He doesn't have any income coming in. So he shares how he gets laid off, but the layoff actually was a setup for a bigger blessing, because in him getting laid off, he was able to connect and meet someone who led him to working in another hospital where he started making six figures. So I say all that to say, this man is sharing this with me while we're on our way to our destination. The whole time, he doesn't know that I'm going through this and I'm needing that push. And I'm like, God, is this you? Like, I need that confirmation, right? So all in all of that happened. I finally decide, okay, I'm going to literally just put my 2 weeks in. I'm going to put my resignation letter in. Give him my resignation letter, and my area manager comes in and tells me how the branch is actually closing in 3 months. So I'm just like, okay, guy, like, I see what you're doing, right? Imagine if I was comfortable in that position. I would have been prepared for the closure that was soon to come. So that happens. Fast forward to after that, I start teaching dance full time, which the positions only open up when I step out on faith. So that's first and foremost. But I eventually let a year pass and then get back into the workforce. So I started working at this job in 2018. Again, this was used for, in hindsight, I see how it was used for development. At the time, I didn't understand that. I was just like, okay, I need a little extra bit of money because, Lord, you know how you created your daughter. I like nice things. I'm not trying to be living paycheck to paycheck. So let's get this job, right? So I start working this job, still modeling, still teaching dance, still teaching modeling, acting, and personal development, but want to also get some extra income going. So I started this job in 2018. Wow, I'm there for about a year, some change. 2019 going into 2020, again, I feel this pull, like it's time to leave. It's time to leave. And I'm like, all right, God. Now, at that time, when I'm leaving, I have nothing else set up. So I'm modeling still, but anyone that's in the industry, especially if you're not agency represented or don't have a manager or not part of SAG-AFTRA, you understand that it can be tough because you can make great money, but it's gig based. So if you're not working consistently, sometimes you have to take on jobs to fill in those gaps. Is why you hear people say, I went to Hollywood and I was waitressing while trying to break out into the industry, because it's not always able to sustain you when you're first starting. So I'm doing all these things on the side, right? But not nearly enough to cover my rent, cover my bills, none of that. So again, I get this pull in my spirit and I'm like, it's time to leave. It's time to leave. Things started happening at the job. It was a lot of negativity, very negative environment. And I'm like, okay, Lord, like it's time. So finally, I'm like, I don't know, because at this point, I'm like, okay, God has already covered me and sustained me when he told me to leave another job just over a year now prior. So I know he's going to take care of me and I don't need the further confirmation. But Lord, what am I going to do? Because I don't have anything else set up. He's just like, just I need you to put your 2 weeks in. So I go, I don't even put 2 weeks in, but I end up leaving the job December going into January 2020. The pandemic hit 2 months later. And I was like, all right, God, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. So I said all that to say, because this video is not going to be based around leaving a job. I just wanted to use that kind of as a reference point, because I wanted to use that to anchor and say that there are times where God has given us faith and grace for certain areas, and sometimes we don't have the faith for other areas. So now I'm the person that if someone is deciding whether or not they should leave a job, I always say, I don't know if you want to ask me, because I'm going to tell you quit every single time, especially if you feel like you're not walking in purpose, especially if you feel like it's God nudging you to leave. I'm going to tell you to leave because, one, I have faith in that area. I have confidence in that area because I've done this time and time again. And so I don't need confirmation from other people. Now, we know that God will always confirm his word. We know that he'll always send confirmation, right? But I do think you should get to a point in your walk where you're not dependent on other people. Like, let me see if somebody else is saying this, or let me wait, let me get online and listen to another person. Even though I will say, when the first job that I left in 2017, I was getting all the confirmation. Like, even on YouTube, I would get on YouTube and I would see, lie to you not, a video suggested, God told me to leave my job. So I'm like, okay, God, I don't even need any more confirmation. But at that time, that was giving me the faith to know, okay, I am hearing from him correctly. The second time when I left that previous job right before the pandemic, I already knew. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this nudge. I don't have anything else set up, but I trust God. And it was right when I was at my wit's end, even in that particular situation where I was crying out, God, what are you going to do? How are you going to sustain me? That breakthrough came. I mean, literally, one day I'm on the bed crying and I'm like, God, what am I going to do? And a $9,000 deposit hit my account. Moment of silence. Okay. So, yeah. So all that said, I know that he will cover me when it comes to those things, right? But what happens when he causes you to pivot when you thought you heard from him and he led you one place and now he's redirecting you in another place? That's happened to me recently too. It's so crazy. It's like, where do I start? Because I remember God had put me on this assignment. First, before he even put me on this assignment, he had me go out to this location. And I went for a few different reasons and ended up, kind of getting involved in some things. And some things kind of happened that wasn't in the plan and wasn't what I know God intended for me. Nonetheless, he still used it and turned it around for my good, right? So in the midst of that, he pulls me in another direction on assignment. Now I'm thinking that, okay, I'm here for this assignment. And after this assignment, I'm out. It's time to leave. We out, right? No. What ends up happening is I end up staying way longer than anticipated. Now, let me just give a little backstory. I never wanted to come to this place. The only reason that I did was for said assignment. And I'm going to share eventually on my channel what that was, because it definitely it's a big testimony in and of itself. So I remember when God was pulling me, I'm like, Lord, I don't understand. Like, again, I had this elaborate plan and I thought you were in on it, because even then I was getting confirmation. Like I said, I didn't need the confirmation from others, but I remember at the time I had someone that was close to me, speaking to me, a confidant, a spiritual confidant, who literally was like, she heard God tell me XYZ concerning the place that I was at. So then what happens when now God is redirecting me to go to somewhere that I never had intentions on going, let alone to stay longer than the time I intended? So now I'm in this place and I'm like, okay, what are we doing? And so it's in this moment, though, that God has showed me, or in that moment, I should say, that God has showed me that he was redeveloping me, that he was positioning me for greater, because in me going to this new location, he opened up my mind. He opened up my spirit. He opened up my heart. He was able to go in and dig things up that needed to be healed. It was so much that happened that would not have happened had I not stepped away. I almost felt like Abram when he told Abram in Genesis 12:1, I need you to get away from your country, away from your kindred, out of your country, away from those that you know, into a land that I will show you. And all Abram could do was believe. And even then, he thought he was doing something by bringing Lot along. Like, hey, I imagine it like, hey, Lot, God is leading me to this promised land. Come on. I know that he'll bless you too, even though that's not what God told him to do. And what ended up happening was chaos ensued. And so I use that as another anchoring point, because that's how I felt. I felt like I had gotten the instruction, but then I didn't know what was to come. And then when I went, so much stuff has started happening. So now let's fast forward to where we are now. God had been speaking different things to me. And so one thing I realized is that you have to quiet the noise and silence just all that's around you, and be even silence yourself. There are times where you have to quiet your own spirit, because I know for me, like, I'm a thinker, I'm an overthinker, I'm analytical to a fault sometimes. And I've had to like sit still and say, okay, let me look at the bigger picture, because I know this was the plan. This is what I thought. This is what I felt. But maybe God is doing something different. Let me be open-minded. I think many times people box God in, to what we think he's doing because of what we saw him doing somebody else's life, or just an idea that we had. Maybe it's something that we want to do, but he's like, I still have that for you, but I have to get you to travel a different way. What just dropped in my spirit is like, I imagine you're on the highway and God told you your destination. You know your destination. You know exactly where you're going, right? So you know the final point, right? But imagine you're on the highway and then God abruptly says, I need you to take this exit. And you're like, God, it's not for another 5 exits to reach the destination. And he's like, I need you to trust me, but get off this exit, right? You're still going to get to your destination, but he has to reroute you. He has to cause you to pivot, because what if up ahead there's an accident that's going to happen? What if up ahead there's a roadblock? Not only that, what if by you taking this exit and you're still going to get to your destination, you might stop at some places or see some things that you would have never saw had you not taken that pivot, right? So that's what God has been showing me. And even on my heart, I believe that we're in a season where it's time to pivot. There are people that have been in industries that God is calling them out of, or maybe he's calling you to do things in a new way. Just like me, I'm a creative person at heart, right? He created me this way. I love creating. I love modeling, acting, dancing, fashion, all the things, right? All the things, beauty, especially. But God has been showing me like there's different ways that you can tap into that, right? Don't limit yourself to just this one way. And it took me relocating to understand that and see that, just like with starting a podcast. I do this. This is me by nature. Friends and people close to me know that I'm an encourager by nature. I pour into people by nature, right? Sometimes more than people will even pour into me, which is okay. I've realized that that's part of my call. But instead of just doing that and giving that away, in spaces that are small, God is saying, I need you to speak, because I do have something in me. I have something in my belly, right? There are people that saw it and see it on me, some people that have tried to abuse it, but God is showing me like, this is the time to come forward. This is the time to come out of hiding. This is the time to step outside of my comfort zone. And so that's where I'm at now. It's like, I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone. I'm allowing God to pivot me, still the same destination, but maybe a different route. So I don't know who this is for. And this is not just, let me say, this is not just limited to redirection regarding your job. This can be even in relationships. There are times where friendships and romantic relationships, business partnerships, collaborations come into our lives for a season. And God is like, I need you to pivot. Maybe you two will reconnect, but maybe it's not the time for you to be connected now, because I'm working something out in you and I'm working something out in them, or I have you in this process, or maybe you two were two walking together, but maybe you're not agreed anymore. And we know, how can two walk together unless they be agreed, right? So God has been showing me, this is a time where you have to trust. And like I said earlier, you have to get to a point to where you're not so dependent on other people's voices, because, and I understand it, some people have faith to believe God for finances, but not faith to believe God for healing in their body, right? And vice versa. But you have to trust and know that if He says it and He called you to it, He's going to get you through it. If He's leading you somewhere, it's for a reason. And my mom always says, God knows your end from your beginning. So He sees up ahead. And I use the example of the highway because it just came to me, but I was thinking about that, how imagine that your destination is still the same, but now you have to take a different route, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. So I don't know who might have stumbled upon this video or intentionally clicked it. But if God is calling you to pivot, trust that. Trust that what He's doing, He knows best. And sometimes, even now I'm hearing this now in my spirit, you box yourself in addition to God from doing great things by staying in a place that's comfortable for you. That can even be in a city. A lot of times it takes people leaving their cities for them to succeed, because they can't do it around the same people's familiar spirits, the same everything, right? It's complacent. You become stagnant, because what I've learned, and I've learned this heavily, and I'm gonna make a video on this, is that sometimes people don't respect the gift because they're too close up on it. So you have to step outside of what you're accustomed to and used to, so that you can tap into what you're really called to and what's really on the inside of you. And even now, that's what's happening with me now. It's like I'm out of transition and a lot of pivoting. It looks like I'm freezing. Hold on. Okay, good. We're back. I was freezing for a second. Got it together. So yeah, this is longer than I anticipated, but I don't know who needed this. I know someone needed this. So I hope this encourages you. I hope this blesses you. Be comfortable in the pivot. Be comfortable in the redirection. Know that redirection is for something greater. So if God is redirecting you, trust that. I know I say that now, even as I'm having to trust Him, but know that there's something beautiful on the other side of that. But you won't be able to see that if you're so set in your ways and so set in staying with what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable in. So trust God. Trust God in the pivot. Trust God in the redirection, and know that He has you. Again, my name is Trafina. I'm glad you joined me. Thank you for sitting through this. I hope this blessed somebody and reached you and told you that you can do it. You got this. It's nothing too hard for God. It's nothing too hard for you. And if it is too hard for you, God will fill in, okay? But stay connected. I'm going to keep all of my social media handles and my podcast link in the description box. And stay tuned. I have much more coming to this channel. I'm just letting God use me as a vessel. Like I said, I'm super creative. So it's going to be a lot of stuff concerning that. Some things I won't release because, you got to keep some things under wraps between you and God until it's time to reveal. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, like I did in the last video, I was looking between the camera and between me looking at myself. So if you see me doing like this, that is why. No judgment. Again, we're going to get it together. But thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you want to see from me. If you have anything any topics you want me to cover or anything you want me to talk about, like, I'm one of those super deep thinkers. Like I'm always processing things. Sometimes I'm like, Lord, you created me to really think like super deep, like, but deep calleth unto deep. So if you get it, you get it. If you know, you know. But yeah, leave some comments for me. Let me know what you want to see me talk about, touch on. I do have a few topics I'm excited that God has given me. I'm excited for what God is doing. And just stay tuned. There's big things in store in this year. Okay.